And people are pretty beat up right now. So I kind of look at that specifically to what you're talking about. It's one of the biggest obstacles that I see right now.
Yeah.
People are stuck. Okay. Good people. You know them. I know them. They've been successful. This is all they've done. And all of a sudden, they're almost paralyzed by the fear of having to rebuild, recreate, start all over again, once again in this business.
Hey, everybody. Man, talking with Dave Brown, I wish we would have started the recording in the green room because so many good stuff, but I'm not even going to do, I'm going to do an introduction, Dave. Dave Brown is a dear friend of mine. I don't know how long we've known each other, but Dave is he's outside of Dallas, Texas. He is a mortgage coach. He's and make sure I get this right, but the CEO and owner of Impact Training. He's correct. Also a mortgage broker, so he's in the trenches with all of us. Public speaker, podcaster. He's got Loan Officer Huddle, and if you want to check that out, I think it's loanofficerhuddle.com. Man, Dave, it is awesome having you on. How's everything going?
Richard, were you just talking about me? I'm sitting there going, man, tell me a little more. I'm feeling pretty good about myself. No, thank you. Things are going great, and I appreciate being on the call. I'm watching what you're doing. And by the way, Richard, congratulations. By the time people listen to this, they will have realized that you are also now a best-selling author. I think you just hit that status in the last day or two. So congratulations.
Thank
to you, brother. That is very cool, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's good to have you on, man. And let's talk about some of the things you're working on. I know there's so much that you're working on right now. And, your training is called Impact Training. And I'm seeing a lot of it on social media that you are having a huge impact on loan officers' businesses and lives. So let's just talk about some of the things that you're doing right now.
Sure. Thank you. So, I'll kind of go back a little bit. So, I think the last time you and I talked, I had really decided that, I was going to go not just full speed ahead, but I was going to branch out and not work as a contractor for anybody else. And I was really going to go out on my own and do that. And I started down a path where I was going to help train other coaches so that they could be more effective in their coaching. But what I found, Richard, is there is so many, I'm just going to say it. There's so many liars in this industry right now. There's so many people that are not successful in their primary business that they're starting these little side hustle businesses.
Right.
Where they're going to coach people. And I quickly identified that wasn't the right niche for me because I'm not into playing the liar's poker, man. I kind of wear my emotions on my sleeve. And so I just really doubled down and went all in with Impact Training, which I started that company in 2006, really at the height of my career. I walked away from full-time originating to start Impact Training at that time to be a full-time coach and trainer. And so that's really where I've gone back to. And so, what I'm doing is just coaching and training loan officers around the core principles to help them grow their business. Obviously, there's so many things that have changed in the industry. And let's face it, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, the last couple of years have been hard on mortgage loan officers, real estate agents. And so, a lot of times I find they just need a lot of emotional and mental support to kind of help them get their mind right again so that they can get back to doing the things they're really good at. And so that's what I'm doing. And then within there, I know we're going to talk about it. I've started something called the Loan Officer Huddle. It's a 23-minute call that goes on every morning at 9 a.m. Central Time for 23 minutes. And over the last 4 months, we've literally had thousands of loan officers log in, and we're changing lives. It's really cool seeing the success stories. It's a lot of fun, Richard. It's what fills my bucket and helps me have the energy to then pour into people all day long.
That's awesome. So tell us about the 23 minutes.
Good, good one. So here's the deal. If have you ever heard of the 100-hour rule? You ever hear of that?
Yes.
All right. So the concept and the principle is with the 100-hour rule is if you work on any skill or any activity for 100 hours in a year, statistically speaking, you can be better than 90% of people in that area. As an example, if you wanted to take up the guitar and you worked on that for 100 hours this year, you literally can be better than 90% of the people that pick up a guitar in the country, okay, or in the
That's
world.
awesome.
So what I've done is I've taken that same concept, and again, the concept is 18 minutes a day, 7 days a week. But because I don't want to have calls on Saturday and Sunday, we do 23 minutes a day. So 23 minutes a day, 5 days a week, over the course of a year adds up to 100 hours. So what I'm doing on the daily huddle is we practice that 100-hour rule to help people, and kind of the tagline is, getting your mind right and your habits tight around the MDAs, the minimum daily activities that loan officers and real estate agents need to take to be successful in their business. And so I'm trying to anchor in those core, practices and habits that everybody knows they need to do, Richard, but let's face it, people get busy and they stop doing the things that made them successful a lot of times. And so I'm just really anchoring that in there. I'm 23 minutes a day in their ear, saying you got to do these minimum daily things before you go chasing other shiny toys and working on other things, because this is the core foundation of your business.
Nice. I love it, man. That is awesome. Yeah, I kind of wondered what that 23 minutes was about.
Yep. 23 minutes a day, 5 days a week, it equals 100 hours over the course of a year. And again, let's face it, that's just phase one, right? Just because you join my call, I'm there to help motivate, inspire, educate. I'm training. Sometimes I'm having some real earnest conversations with people, looking in the camera saying, listen, you've been joining this call for 3 months. It's free. And this is the best part. It's free, Richard. They can join this call. But sometimes I just look in the screen and say, but if you're just joining this call because it feels good, you're not taking action.
Yep.
It's not going to work. You have to get off the call and take action. And that's what I promote. So I try to tell everybody that, they need to block off in their calendar at least an hour to an hour and a half, for my call, and then action time when they get off the call to go right into go time. And I'll tell you what, the results are pretty cool. Can I share a cool result and statistic?
Oh, yeah. I'd love to hear that.
Okay. So I just put this on Facebook. So, we're doing this recording on December or January 15th, 2025.
Yep.
So 2 days ago on Facebook, I put this out there. I went back and added up the wins, just the wins that people shared on the morning show call. Okay. I went back and added up all the loan amounts that people booked. And I used, just kind of a 200 basis point rev generation, model. So I didn't even go the high end of 275. So people in this industry will understand that. But basically 2 points, on each loan. The commissions earned from all the loans that people have put into their funnels or into their book of business added up to $167,000 of income.
Wow.
Literally over the last 30 days, what people have booked, locked in, put into their systems. And that was using a 2-point average. So I didn't want to get too aggressive. So it could be a little bit more. And those are just the people that have raised their hands, on the morning show that say, hey, coach, I've got a win. Because every day I ask, hey, who has a win from yesterday that you can share, using the daily activities. But that's pretty cool. 167,000 coming through the month of December.
That's really
loans.
Cool.
Yeah, that loan officers put into their book of business for, probably starting to close into January and February now. I mean, that's pretty cool. And that's real live, success stories, people changing lives. And so it's pretty fun, man.
Yeah, that is awesome. That is really cool. So what do you say when somebody they've been on your show every day, but they're not getting the results. And so they just have some sort of block where it's like, man, I know what I need to do, but I just don't do it. What do you say to that
Just
loan
don't
officer?
do it. Man, were you sitting in on the call I conducted yesterday on
No.
limiting beliefs? Man, we talked about that yesterday, and so here's the deal. There's a lot of people that are hurting out there in the mortgage and real estate world.
Right.
And some people might say, well, they've made a lot of money. They don't deserve to make that much. These people work hard. Okay. And people are pretty beat up right now. So I kind of look at that specifically to what you're talking about. It's one of the biggest obstacles that I see right now.
Yeah.
People are stuck. Okay. Good people. You know them. I know them. They've been successful. This is all they've done. And all of a sudden, they're almost paralyzed by the fear of having to rebuild, recreate, start all over again, once again in this business. And they've got what I call a limiting belief, which is something blocking them from moving forward. So here's what I tell them is like, listen, no judgment zone. I kind of tell them all the time. It's like Planet Fitness. Do you have Planet Fitness in your area?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Do you remember or know what their, kind of their motto is? It's no judgment zone. Okay.
Nope. I didn't know that.
Yep. It's called the no judgment zone at Planet Fitness. That
Nice.
And no lunkhead. So you can't like drop your weights, but no judgment. So I use that all the time and tell loan officers on the call and that I'm coaching. It's like, hey, listen, no judgment. You're where you are. We have to figure it out. What's up here in your head that's like, what's the gunk? We got to get it out. I'm not a licensed counselor, but as a coach, as a performance coach, we hear a lot of stuff, right?
Right.
I mean, I've had, things from kids dying to spouses dying, overdoses, suicide with coach. I mean, just all kinds of really hard events. So I just try to have an honest conversation to tell people, hey, you got to get it out. What is it? One, you have to look in the mirror and recognize it. You've got to claim it and own it. You've almost got to speak it into the ethos, or you got to talk about it, whether it's with me or somebody. You got to be able to get it out. And I used the term yesterday. I said, almost like going to church. You almost got to like
right.
You got to ask for forgiveness, ask to let it go. And I use it an example. A good friend of mine, Mitchell Cruz, he's from Indiana. They had the largest automobile auction, collector car auction company in the world, and they sold it to eBay years and years ago for over $100 million. He's in the pastoral field now. He's a pastor and he's an author. And I remember years ago, I sent him a message and I said, man, I'm struggling. I got gunk in my head. And he sent me a message back and he said, forgiven and set free. Forgiven and set free. And that's, I've kept that on my text message from him, never erased it. But specifically to your point, you got to get it out there. It happened, whatever it is, whether it's a financial crisis, whether it's a marriage crisis, whatever it is.
Right.
We have to, you have to deal with it before you can move forward, and you have to own it, claim it. It is what it is. And guess what? Today's a new day. And the cool thing about this industry and life, you get to start all over today. In most cases, there's not too many things where you can't start today anew. And in the next 90 to 180 days, if you really work hard, you can rebuild and become what you want to be in your new, chosen field, or in our business, just recreating your business. So I know that was a long answer, but it's a really important thing, because honestly, I think it's one of the top two struggles that I find with loan officers right now is that limiting belief. I really do. I think it's one of the biggest.
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge, man. So we all have fear. And I know you're also in the mortgage industry. So making the calls, it seems to me like that's the toughest thing for a lot of loan officers to do, is to start again and make it, it's kind of like you were saying, back to the basics. So now you might be calling past clients that you haven't talked to in 2, 3, 4 years. You might be calling new agents, agents that are looking, trying to build relationships. How do you work through that fear?
One, we have to address it. We have to understand it as a fear, right? So I think that's the first thing, Richard, is once I can get somebody to admit, yes, I am afraid. Once they can almost say that, like, you're right, I am afraid. I'm not just putting it off because I'm too busy, but I have to get them to truly acknowledge there's that fear. Then at that point, there's a little bit of motivation. Okay. I have to kind of motivate them. And I say this all the time. You and you're a great coach. For those of you listening, Richard is an amazing mortgage coach and has helped thousands and thousands of people as well. But
Appreciate that.
well, and I've learned from you. But you and I can get people, I use the kind of the analogy, you and I can get people motivated short term to run into a fire almost, right? Or
Right.
like run into a brick wall. And that brick wall is that point of resistance that you're talking about. I'm holding up my cell phone, and this has become like a 500-pound item for people, right? I mean, it literally is. It's like
Oh,
a
yeah.
500-pound thing. They can't pick it up. I can short term get people excited enough to pick up the phone and try it. And the cool thing is, as an example with the database, if you and I can just get people to start doing it, they start to see successes within a couple of weeks. They get a win.
Oh, yeah.
So, you and I used the term earlier. I shared with you, the title of a book that I'm working on that I had hoped to get in 2024 out. Now, hopefully 2025. But I use the term all the time, moving the needle, right?
Right.
Moving the needle. We got to move the needle. And so the first thing we got to do is help them get wins. And that activity that you just asked about, if they can get wins right away, they get excited, right? Coach, you're never going to believe it. It worked.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know it works, but if I can, I can't get them motivated to like make cold calls forever. But when it comes to what you just said,
Right.
I know they'll get wins out of it. And so that's the first thing, giving them the confidence. They have to have I just ask people all the time, you've entered into a contract, whether you're paying or joining the free huddle call. You're trusting me to help you right now. Trust me a little bit longer that if you do this, it will work. Try it.
Yeah, and then once it starts working and they start getting results, and I say they, and I'm talking about myself too, because I jump back into producing myself. And I'm making those calls, and even doing it for. I've been in the bit. I don't know how long you've been in. I've been in for like 20 years in this business.
I got a few on you though. So
okay. So
I literally started when I was like 20 years old. So
that's awesome. Yeah, that is so cool. So it's
hard.
like starting new again. It's back to the basics. And that's what works in this business, is building those relationships, making those calls, even when you don't want to.
Yes.
Forcing yourself. I think time blocking is a big deal, and that makes a huge difference. And I like what you're saying. Your huddle right after the huddle is the time to make the calls.
Yes.
Well, what time's your huddle every day?
So I do that huddle every day at 9 a.m. Central because I'm in Texas, so I'm on Central Time. So it's 10 Eastern. And it's kind of a nice mix so that people from, I have people joining from, West Coast.
Yep.
And so it's a nice mix. But, again, if people block out, whether it's 9 to 11, 10 to 12, but I even back it up a little bit further, Richard. I tell people in the beginning, block out 40 minutes after my call. Let's start, baby steps, right?
Yeah.
Let's start with 40 minutes. Because again, if somebody's not doing it at all, getting them to block out 2 hours to sit and make calls, that they're not going to do it. So I'm a little bit of a realist. I can sit there and say you need to, should do, but if they're not going to do it. So I tell them, get off my call, go get a cup of coffee, go to the bathroom, and, plan on take about 4 to 5 minutes. And at 9:30 Central, for the next 30 minutes, just let's start for the next 2 to 3 weeks, spending 30 minutes.
Right.
Start getting in that habit again. Then we'll start adding 15 to 30-minute increments to that for them as they go. But I just know human nature. And again, I've kind of come to the realization, I guess, as a coach, that just because we talk about it doesn't mean they're going to do it. So let's just call a spade, right?
Yep.
You know,
no, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
And I found some success with that.
Yeah. It's like if you're going to start day one jogging and you haven't been jogging and you're going to do, okay, 2 hours a day, it's just not going to happen.
Right. I mean, like, look at me, Richard. That'd be like me saying January 1, I was going to start 75 hard. Come on. I mean, to go from I haven't been able to work out because of some injuries and stuff for the last year, but like literally, if I would have woken up and said January 1, I'm going to start 75 hard. I mean, first thing is probably I need to go buy a new pair of shoes, man. And then I got to, figure out I need to go for a walk. But so many people do that. It's like and that's why, what was last Friday, the 10th of January? They label it what? National Quitters Day.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And it's because people pick unrealistic goals that are not tied to their vision, right? Not tied to really what's important to them.
Right.
And therefore it's really unattainable from day one. It's not a commitment. It's just something that they say. It feels good.
Right.
Yeah.
And then January goes by.
Exactly, man. So, but I may do 75 hard this year, Richard. I'll let you know.
That would be awesome.
You want to do it with me if we do it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I am working out though. I am doing my morning ritual, and was not consistent last year doing that. Scotty Campbell, right?
I sure do. Yeah. Great.
So
guy.
his word of the year is consistency. So I'm like, man, I haven't picked my word of the year yet, but that is the word. So I stole it from him, or I'm sharing it with him. The word of the year is consistency, and getting back to be consistent working out. It literally is, 20 minutes on the treadmill or the bike, 10 minutes of weights or, stretching and core. I'm not overdoing it because I know if I plan on a 2-hour workout, it just isn't going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do bite-sized chunks that you can hit. Again, you stack the wins, right? Because again, if you start consistently doing that for 30 days, you'll lose a few pounds, you'll feel a little better, and then that promotes you to want to do 15 minutes or a little extra.
Exactly.
And, my whole paradigm around goal setting has shifted. Kind of what you're talking about. It's like, let's be realistic. And I love that word, the WOY, word of the year. I love it. Consistency.
Yeah.
So
that's a big one.
It's a big one. Yeah. Mine's.
So let me ask you this. For you, what does a Monday look like? How do you start your week? Do you start on Monday, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so I'm going to back up. My word of the year is massive.
Okay.
Massive breakthroughs in all areas of my life. And I have identified a lot. Now, the reason I chose massive is because I had a bunch of just medical issues. I had an injury, then I had an auto accident. And so I wasn't able to push as hard in the last really 15 months as I wanted. I mean, I worked hard, but now bringing that forward, Sundays, and again, my kids are older, so my life is a little different now. I don't have those responsibilities. So, my day kind of starts on Sundays. Okay. As far as planning, preparing, things like that. I get everything ready to go. Then first thing, my routine now is I'm usually up around 5 a.m. Okay. Up around 5. And part of what I'm doing is I sit down kind of in that chair right there, sit there, have a cup of coffee. It's 5:15-ish. I read my Bible. Okay.
Nice.
I start, and I'm just very focused because part of my massive this year is massive spiritual growth, massive leadership in spiritual areas. Okay. Massive learning. And so that means I need to do more reading of for me, the Bible. Okay.
Right.
So I'm picking two different chapters of the Bible or two different books of the Bible that I'm reading. I always like to read Proverbs. So the day of the month for Proverbs, but then I'm reading. So today was Proverbs 15, and I'm reading Matthew right now. So Matthew 15 was today, and then I'm journaling. Okay, so that's my time. So I'm spending about 30 minutes doing that.
Nice.
And I'm doing that before I do anything else. So then I kind of get, moving with my day. I'm starting to do a little bit of exercise, just about medically released. Then I'm going to start adding some working out in there before I do anything.
Yeah.
Then I'm doing follow up in the morning. I mean, I've got a pretty tight. So I call it the Dream 100. And I promote this in my coaching. And the Dream 100, I've modified it, Richard, but it's around getting on social media in the morning, getting your first post of the day in to get that algorithm cooking, liking, commenting, and posting on other people that you're, either that you're targeting, that's a potential referral partner for you, or people in your sphere that you want to do business with. Okay. So and then we're tracking that. From there, by the time that's over with, it's 9 a.m. It's time to jump on the loan officer huddle for 23 minutes. I hop off of that, do a little cleanup, hop into the CRM, start communicating with people. And from there, coaching calls and things like that, for the rest of the day. But that literally is how my day starts every day. I'm at day 15. I'm pretty consistent. I've always been pretty consistent with a morning routine, but I'm dialing it in even tighter because I'm expecting and speaking into existence massive results over myself, my family, my home, my coaching clients, the people that I am impacting. And
I love
that means I got to be committed, right? Massive results means you got to have massive amounts of sleep at night as well. You got to sleep, just everything. But that's what I do to get ready. The other thing I've done is on Sundays, I'm using that to get some of my social media posts ready for the week. So I'm starting to stack some of those. So I'm not waking up every morning trying to think about what do I want to talk about.
Right.
So some of those posts are pre-written. I'm writing them out, on Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, getting them ready for later in the week. And I'm finding that's a big help. Ties in with time blocking like you talked about.
Love it.
So that's a big part of how I'm getting ready for the week then, so that I can go impact people.
Yeah. And it sounds like you've got the consistency part down pretty good too, because you've got to be consistent with that to really make an impact.
Yeah, I think so. The one thing I need to do better this year, I need to do more, like everybody, I need to do more video. Okay.
Right.
But I'm a coach. I'm not an entertainer. And I was having this conversation the other day with another good friend, and him, Doug Catteray.
Yep.
And my ego my ego is in check, right? And what I mean by that, Richard, is I am a coach that loves doing this right here, working, in groups and one-on-one with people. That's where I shine, helping people find, what their limiting belief is,
right,
getting some wins, moving the needle. I don't need to be on stage and so you know what I mean? Now, if I get invited to speak, I love doing that. We all do. But it's not in my wheelhouse of what I'm trying to do and accomplish every day.
Right.
So I know that I need to do more video. That's the one thing I need to add more to my daily habits. But I'm kind of more of a behind the scenes coach that really enjoys rolling up my sleeves, helping people. And I suppose if I did more video and things like that, maybe I would end up on more stages. But I kind of enjoy just connecting with people like we are right now. It's just kind of my jam.
I like that.
If that makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah, that does.
But if I were trying to build a business right now, like if I got off this call and said, you know what, Richard and I just had a conversation and I am inspired. I think I'm just going to go build my mortgage business 100% again and focus, 80, 90% of my efforts in mortgage. I can tell you I would be on, video like white on rice, three,
Right.
4, or 5 videos a week. And I would be like leaning into that, that in a large way, because I definitely know, to get organic business, that's the way to do that. So,
Right.
makes
Yeah, I
sense.
definitely am not doing video enough. Nope.
It's a hard one. Hey, somebody you just mentioned, Scotty Campbell, he's up in his video game,
Right.
right? I mean, he is significantly raising, his video game, and so it will pay off. And the coaching clients that I push and promote to do more video, that are, working on getting business, for their mortgage practice. It's fun watching them go from, coach, I'm afraid, I can't
Right.
do it, to, now watching them, 6 months, 8 months, a year later, they're just like these little social butterflies now, that are flying. And it's so cool to see, because I can recall the conversations when they were like, oh, don't make me do a video for you. And
Yeah.
I'm like, no, part of your homework this week is you got to turn a video into me. At least, we aren't going to post it yet. Wink, wink. They don't think that, but
Yep.
getting them to just shoot a couple of practice demo videos, sometimes in the beginning, is really difficult for them. So
Yeah,
a lot
that's
of fun.
cool. Wow, time flew, man. What words of encouragement do you have for loan officers today? We're the first of
Mm.
the year. Things are looking like they're going to turn around this year, or the word on the street is.
Yes.
What words of encouragement do you have?
Great question. Here's what I would tell you. First of all, if you're listening to this, if you're a loan officer, and I'm even going to say a real estate agent, but if you're a loan officer, you've made it. You're here in 2025, when literally a couple 100,000 of our, licensed LOs have not made it. So that's the first thing. You're a winner. Okay.
Yep.
The hard work is not done yet. Don't think you're out of the woods yet. It's not easy yet. It's not going to be easy, but you've made it this far. Why not go a little bit further on this journey? Why not lean in? Do the things you know you need to do. Nobody's coming to save you. No one is coming to save you. In fact, Richard Smith, you put a post on Facebook today that said that nobody's
Yep.
coming to save you. And it's so true. So if you're listening to this, nobody's coming to save you. But here's what I want you to hear. In 90 days, if you focus on your business and work harder than you've worked, and I'm asking you to work harder than you've worked in the last 2 years, harder, smarter, more focused, more consistent, more massive. And if you're willing to commit the next 90 days of your life, I believe we are like at the precipice of a major breakthrough for the next 4 or 5, 6 years in our industry.
Yeah.
That the next 90 to 180 days, if you're willing to go a little bit further with us and just stay the course a little longer, I think the next decade of your life could be changed in a way that you can't imagine. But it starts with deciding today that you're willing to put in a little bit of time, do a little bit of hard work, because just on the other side of hard, you can change your life literally if you focus for the next 90 days and stay consistent. That's what I would tell everybody.
Love that advice, man. That is awesome. So I'm a loan officer listening to this, and I want to get a hold of you. What is the best way to get a hold of you?
Yep. There is one way to get a hold of me. It is www.talkingwithdave.com. Talkingwithdave.com. And then the other thing that anybody that's listening to this, I have a little bit of free coaching every day. And that is the Loan Officer Huddle. And that is real easy to sign up and register. It's free. It's loanofficerhuddle.com. So just loanofficerhuddle.com is how you sign up for that. That'll get you registered for updates every morning as far as to remind you of the call. I'm not spamming anybody with solicitations. I want to build some trust. So if you join that call, you're going to get some free knowledge, information. I want to build some trust, let you get to know me a little bit. And then at that point, once you get to know me, if you decide you want to take that relationship further, I'm there every morning, smiling,
Awesome.
talking, and you can ask questions there and, take the step for in the relationship further, Richard.
That is so awesome, man. It was great having you on. Very, very, very insightful. I learn every time I talk to you. I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate it. Richard, thank you. And for those that haven't bought his book yet, what's the name of your book, Richard? I want to plug shamelessly your book. Here we go.
It's Work Less, Grow More.
By Richard Smith, newly crowned best-selling author. Get that book, man. Richard, thanks for having me. It is an absolute pleasure. Thank you. And can't wait to connect again soon.
Thank you.